All right, welcome back to WMMA Now with your host Chuck Stevenson. Today I'm coming at you with some news out of the Rising Fighting Federation of Japan. So Rizin Super Atomweight Champion Seo Hee Ham is no longer the champion. The belt was vacated on Friday due to a press release, explained in a press release from Rizin. Now Ham fought for Rizin 3 times in 2019. She made her debut against Tomomi Sawa, who she defeated via first round TKO, fought again for them at Rizin 19 in October, defeating Miyu Yamamoto by second round TKO, and then she captured the title at Rizin 20 on New Year's Eve, defeating Ayaka Hamasaki via split decision in a very close, very exciting matchup that it was one of my fights of the year for 2019. I'm going to go ahead and read the press conference released by Rizin on this. Now, this is translated via Google Chrome. Headline: Seo Hee Ham returns a women's super atom class belt, dated for October 16th, 2020. On Friday, October 16th, the belt of the Rizin Women's Super Atom Class Champion, held by Seo Hee Ham, will be returned to Rizin. Seo Hee played against the first Rizin Women's Super Atom Class Champion, Ayaka Hamasaki, at Rizin 20, held on New Year's Eve at the end of last year, and won 2-1 at the end of the judgment, and the second Rizin Women's Super Atom Class Champion shined. We talked with Seo Hee about the future participation in Rizin, but we did not reach an agreement, so we returned the belt of the Rizin Women's Super Atom Class Champion held by Seo Hee to Rizin, which resulted in the Rizin Women's Super Atom Class. The throne becomes vacant. So obviously not the greatest of translation jobs. So very, very vague press release from Rizin. Doesn't really go into any type of details. Doesn't talk about, who was the expected opponent, when were they trying to get her to come back, any of the parameters for the fight. Really, there's almost no details. Doesn't talk about, who was wanting what, nothing about that. Now, part of me has to wonder if the difficulties in negotiation might have something to do with the fact that Seo Hee is no longer with her former Japanese manager. You might remember that it came out right after she won the title that said manager was being accused of embezzling not only her fight purse, but also the fight purse of a lot of Korean fighters who would go over to Japan and fight. So that could be a part of the difficulties in this contract negotiation, but that's purely conjecture on my part. Now, obviously, with her vacating the belt and not fighting for Rizin anymore, or potentially never fighting for them again, this could have far-reaching complications, not just for the Rizin Super Atomweight division, but for Ham herself, for Rizin, for the Atomweight division in general. Could have very far-reaching consequences. So let's talk about those. So what does this mean for Seo Hee? Well, obviously, she is no longer the Rizin Super Atomweight champ. Now, she is still the Road FC Atomweight champion. Now, she hasn't defended that belt in coming up on 2 years. She took the year off from Road FC last year to let them try to build up a new contender for her, or to find one, and she went and fought in Rizin. Now, Road FC has not put on any events this year in 2020. They've been working on their side project ARC, but they haven't put on any Road FC branded events this year, and it's not looking hopeful for this year at all. Now, it also means that, of course, Ham is not likely to fight anytime at all in 2020, which means a whole year basically off of her career. Now, she fought 3 times last year, which was a lot for her in the past several years, but now she goes a whole year without potentially fighting. Now, one thing that I mentioned in leading to far-reaching consequences is that this could open her up to fights in other promotions. For example, One Championship is going to have a 55-kilogram Grand Prix next year, that what they call their atomweight division. It's actually at 115 pounds. Ham has talked about wanting to face new opposition and face new opponents that she hasn't fought before. One Championship would definitely do that. Now, personally, I don't want to see her back at 115 pounds. She is a true atomweight, And going there would mean that she's actually fighting legit strawweights as well as legit atomweights, basically mixed into one division. Because I'm sorry, you're not going to convince me that the likes of Angela Lee, who starts off her fight camp at 135 pounds, is a legit atomweight. You're just not. Now, another possibility is Invicta FC. Ham is actually the lineal Invicta FC champion. She defeated the last lineal champion, Ayaka Hamasaki, and she also beat former champion Jin Yu Fry before Jin took the vacant atomweight championship there. So she has wins over the last two people to hold that belt. Now, Invicta has a new champion in Alicia Zapatella, who took the vacant title over Ashley Cummins just last month. Invicta FC, you got to imagine why wouldn't they want the number one atomweight in the world to face off with their new champion? And because if Zapatella wins, then they can say, yeah, we have the number one atomweight again. We have a true world champion. Big problem with that, though, would be that Invicta is likely not going to be able to afford Ham. I know when Road FC originally coaxed her to come out of, she was, looking at retirement after getting cut from the UFC, but Road FC coaxed Ham into coming back and allegedly was paying her the equivalent of a six-figure US dollar salary. Don't know how true that is, but you got to imagine that Rizin also was willing to pay her a hefty sum as well. That promotion seems to want to throw high dollars around. Now, the biggest possibility, but probably the least likely right now, if Ham is a free agent, that is would be the biggest pickup that the UFC could get for a new UFC atomweight division. If you follow this channel regularly, you know that I am probably the biggest proponent on YouTube of UFC atomweight division. I've been arguing it for, I'm going up on 3 years of this channel, and I've been arguing it since the beginning. So if the UFC were to start an atomweight division, obviously you would want the number one fighter in the world. Why wouldn't you? It'd be a lot easier to do that than to just make a new champion and try to claim that she's the best, because everyone would know that she's not the best. So picking up Ham to start a new atomweight division would be, it'd be huge for the pickup for the UFC. Now, what does this mean for the Rizin Fighting Federation? Well, obviously their title is vacant. They've got to figure out what to do with this vacant title. Do they hold a tournament? Do they just pick two fighters? Most likely, if they did that, they would take Hamasaki versus someone else. And then they got to figure out who to match her up against. They could do the Kana Asakura rematch, which those two just fought coming up on 2 years ago for the inaugural title fight. They could do Hamasaki versus Reina, although that would throw Reina's 3-fight retirement run out of skids. They could do Miyu Yamamoto. Yamamoto's coming off a win last New Year's Eve over Amp the Rocket. So, Rizin does have some options. Now, obviously, this means no Reina fight for Seo Hee Ham. Both fighters expressed interest in that fight. I certainly expressed interest in that fight. I would love to see that still down the line somewhere if it could be worked out. If not in Rizin, then elsewhere. I really, really want to see that fight. Rizin, you blew it with this one. Obviously, it means no fourth Ayaka Hamasaki fight. Hamasaki, this was the only fight she really wanted this year. She took the Tomo Maesawa fight as a stay busy fight and to get a win before taking the rematch, but she really wanted this fourth fight to try to get back her title and try to, keep her dominant overall record against Ham. Right now, Hamasaki's up 2-1 against Seo Hee Ham. And finally, obviously, being that this title is vacated, it loses some value. Whoever wins the title next is, in some ways, going to be a paper champ. Anytime a title gets vacated, it loses value. For example, look at let's say, the Invicta Strawweight Championship. This title is about to be fought for the 4th time next month. It's vacant for, like, I think the 4th time in 2 or 3 years. They just have been unable to keep a champion in that weight class because they keep getting called up to the UFC, but it also means that, you know, nobody is beating a sitting champion. A belt means a lot more if you defeat a standing champion than if you go in there against a non-champion and win a vacant title. So the Rizin Super Atomweight title has obviously lost some value. Now, finally, what does this mean for the Atomweight division? Well, it means that the Atomweight division becomes just a little more fractious and a little more spread out. Rizin had the top 2 or 3, like you could say 3 of the top 4 Atomweight fighters in the world between Ham, Hamasaki, and Kana Asakura. That's easily 3 of the top 4 Atomweight fighters at the start of this year. Now, they don't have the number 1 fighter anymore. And the number 1 fighter is most likely going back to Road FC, where they don't have, I don't think they have any ranked fighters right now. Let me see. According to, if you go by Sherdog rankings, they don't have any ranked Atomweights there. So, now you have 3 or 4 different Atomweight titles, like serious Atomweight titles between Road FC, Rizin, Invicta, and Deep Jewels. You've got 4 different titles spread out. You've got a division spread across 4, you know, largely regional promotions. It means that the division is a little more spread out. It's more fractious again. Also, it means that, you know, going back to Ham potentially being a free agent, it does mean, though, that for those other promotions, the number 1 fighter is there to be picked up. So while the division is now a little more fractious, it means that whoever picks up Ham, if she is indeed a free agent and doesn't go back to Road FC, which whoever picks her up will now have claim to have the number 1 Atomweight in the world fighting in their promotional banner. So, you know, obviously, I'm really disappointed by this news. I think it's amazing that, oh, they can't come together on one, like, fight agreement, so they immediately decide, well, you got to give up the title. I think that's really disappointing. I mean, we don't know the full details. Like, these negotiations could have been going on for a while. But here's the thing. No foreigners have been able to go to Japan and fight this year. I think Jake Hune might be one of them. But, like, Japan was largely cut off for this year to foreigners visiting. Anyone had to go. Now, I think they've lowered the buffers, but you still have to go and do a 2-week quarantine. No fighter is going to be able to go and do a 2-week quarantine and be able to complete a fight camp and do a proper, you know, weight cut and then go fight. It's just, it hasn't been possible. If that's still going on, then you can't blame Ham for not wanting to fight, you know, without being able to get a proper camp in and a proper weight cut and deal with as little hindrances as possible, especially being the champ. You know, it's just really disappointed that they were so quick to strip her of the title. Meanwhile, you've got other promotions like One Championship. Angela Lee hasn't defended in over a year now, and she's about to go another year, and they're saying, why would we make her vacate the title? Just really disappointing that, you know, there's no real standard in MMA. And as a Ham fan, I'm disappointed because, you know, she went from being a 2-promotion champ to being, you know, down to 1. Although, let's be honest here, she's still the real Rizin champ. Vacated title or not. Anyway, that's enough of me rambling on. Let me know your thoughts on this whole situation in the comments down below. I'd love to hear them. If you liked the video, please give it a like and share it as well. That's how word of the channel spreads. While you're at it, go ahead and subscribe to WMMA Scene Now, the most complete women's mixed martial arts dedicated platform on YouTube. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.